Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting into the new She-Hulk series by Rainbow Rowell, which takes us into the newest journey of Jennifer Walters, who's really just starting over again. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so in a recent video, I talked about the return of Jennifer Walters that we'd seen taking place in Avengers issue 750, with her returning back to a version of She-Hulk that a lot of her fans were just eager to see come back. And in addition to her return, we had also discovered from T'Challa that Jennifer had requested time away from the Avengers so she could deal with their latest changes and make her way back to her old life. And along with this, we also got a glimpse at how this looked for her, with us seeing her defend herself and get all the charges dismissed from everything that happened in World War She-Hulk, which from there had pretty much given Jennifer a clean slate. But I gotta say, for a while it kind of felt like Jason Aaron knew, at least a little bit, how everyone felt about the gamma supercharged, extra hulking She-Hulk, because in Avengers issue 20, which in itself is really a She-Hulk issue, at the time we're given this setup in Jennifer's mind, where the newer version of She-Hulk was on trial for the murder of the more sassy and fun She-Hulk, and this was induced in Jennifer's mind with the help of T'Challa by way of psychoactive calisthenic treatments in order to strengthen her subconscious control. But when we saw this play out, it was pretty fun to see this take place, with the attorney She-Hulk accusing her of being the roided out, no fun version of herself, which of course the new Savage She-Hulk didn't like at the time. But it was fun to see this along with all the previous versions of Jennifer Walters, who were like the jury members in this simulation, who were just watching from the sideline as the She-Hulk we had and the She-Hulk we wanted began to throw hands, with the attorney She-Hulk telling the new Savage one that she was gonna erase her out of existence, which kind of really happened 30 issues later. And you know what else is about to happen? This video sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, which is one of the biggest mobile RPGs out right now, with over 600 characters to choose from, as well as over a dozen factions, including your High Elves of Aravia, who had their schism with the Dark Elves that drowned their country in civil war, which nearly ended the Elves, but since they were too snobby to die, they ended up pulling their way out of it, rebuilding their country, and then coming back stronger than ever, which is true grit. But on top of that, there's a number of game modes for you to jump into, whether you like boss matches, PvP arena matches, dungeon runs, you name it. And this month, Raid's got a non-stop schedule of special events and activities, including Forge Pass Season 3, which is packed with rewards including a limited edition artifact set, as well as new champions and brand new champion skins for Madame Ceres, because you can never have too many skins. And on top of this, later this month, Raid's giving everyone's favorite champion the upgrade that he deserves, because finally, Death Knight is becoming legendary after struggling in all those funny Raid commercials. This month, he's getting the upgrade to Legendary Champion, Ultimate Death Knight. So if you act now and scan my QR code or click my link in the description, as a new player, you'll get free Epic Champion Vergus, as well as 1 energy refill, an XP boost, 200,000 silver, and an ancient shard, which altogether are bonuses worth up to $30 in value. And with using my link, your bonuses will be ready in your inbox as soon as you open the game. But make sure to jump in as soon as possible, because this promotion is only good for the next 30 days. But for Jennifer, doing this virtual murder trial on the newer Savage She-Hulk, in a way it was like Jason Aaron showing us how Jennifer felt about one version of herself versus the other, while also playing with the idea that not a lot of people were rocking with Jennifer going back to a version of the Savage She-Hulk. And I mean, we even had moments back during War of the Realms when Jennifer expressed to Daredevil that her more recent Savage form had its benefits, because as the more slender She-Hulk, she would always get hit on during team-ups, or the bad guys would try to cop a feel while she's fighting them. But when she's more hulking and more savage, she doesn't have those problems. And at one point, even Deadpool tried to put a word in for the fans, with him asking Jennifer at the time, why did she stop being funny? To where then she responded she'd rather be free to be ugly. And Deadpool's like, well, why can't you be both? But at this point for Jennifer, it's really like a fresh start. She's going back to practicing law, she's taken off time from fighting the Avengers, and these are the things that really set the stage to where Jennifer goes from here in her new series written by Rainbow Rowell. Because now with Jennifer going back to practicing law, and really just a normal life after all this time, again she feels like she's starting over, but with her starting over at this point, she feels like she should be so much further ahead. Because she thought she'd be partner by now, or at least have her own practice, or her own place for that matter. But early into this, Jennifer also runs into Titania, who had heard the news about Jennifer going back down to her regular She-Hulk size, so she pops up and confronts Jennifer, which for Jen, this is kind of a surprise, because fairly recently Titania had made a turn towards being more of a hero, more or less, and this is something we've seen throughout Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk, as well as a little bit during Weapon H, and also later on in the early issues of Gamma Flight. But even still with the Gamma Flight team, who collectively they've gone rogue after walking away from Henry Gyrick, though I'm not really sure if that's still an issue, since Abigail Brand killed Henry Gyrick in Sword issue 11, so it's not like he's checking for Gamma Flight anytime soon. But for Titania, with her coming after Jennifer is more of a jealousy thing, because Jennifer, she can go through so many changes and always land on her feet, but for Titania, she feels like every time something new happens for her, it either falls apart or she lands on her face. But really quickly, this turns into one of those things to where Titania, she begins to see that Jennifer doesn't really have it all together, because for one, before they even get into this fight, Jennifer starts to take off her suit, because as of right now, the funds are kind of tight, and this is the only suit that she got, and she's not about to mess up her one and only good suit for Titania. But through the course of this fight, that really doesn't take itself serious, because on one hand, yeah, Titania, she's trying to see if she can outmuscle Jen, and on the other hand, Jennifer, she is entertaining this, so it's not like she's trying to lose to Titania, like she's legit putting in the effort for this fight. But through the course of this, she asks Titania if she's still married to Crusher Creel, do they have an apartment, and Titania's kind of like, well, actually we got a house. And Jen's like, is it a nice one? And Titania's like, it's a rental. But at the same time, Titania's kind of like, why are you asking me these dumb questions? And really it's here where She-Hulk lets Titania know that if she had these fundamental things that Titania has, that she's more or less taking for granted, Jennifer wouldn't take them so lightly, she'd appreciate them. And really it just comes to the point to where Jennifer lets Titania know that she doesn't want to fight her, and like she doesn't mind fighting her, because there's not a lot of people she can smack with a telephone pole and be okay with it. So she more or less lets Titania know that they don't have to be enemies, and if Titania wants, the two of them could just meet up in a vacant lot and blow off some steam. But when Titania tries to ask Jennifer for a card so she can take her up on that offer, Jennifer's then like, I don't have a card at the moment. And right away Titania remembers that Jennifer took off her only suit just so they can do all this. And with realizing this, she then asks Jennifer if she needs some help, and Jennifer tells her, no, I got it, I really got it. And she tells Titania that she'll just call her instead. But then after this, we then come to find that Jennifer, she's gone back to working with Mallory Book, who at this point is kind of helping Jennifer with giving her a job, but at the same time not really, because at one point they were both rival attorneys, with Jennifer eventually causing Mallory to lose her winning streak. So really now with Mallory hiring Jennifer, she's only doing it so she doesn't have to go up against Jennifer in the courtroom. But after this, we then come to find that Jennifer's gone back to her old apartment, which is actually Janet Van Dyne's apartment that she's letting Jennifer use again. And it's pretty huge for Jennifer because she really needs it right now. But also when she gets back to the apartment, Janet notices that Jennifer's a little dusty, so she lets Jennifer know like, hey, if you need a loan, just say the word. But of course, once again, Jennifer declines, and she also lets Janet know that it's not exactly that easy finding clothes that fit She-Hulk. And really it's kind of here where Jennifer has a moment, because before Janet leaves, she tells Jennifer that all of her old clothes are still here and that she hasn't touched them since Jennifer left. And with her saying this, after Janet leaves, Jennifer then goes straight to the closet, where she then finds all of her old She-Hulk clothes that probably date back to around the time when Janet had asked Jennifer to join the Avengers. But nonetheless, when Jennifer sees this closet, she is overjoyed. And I don't know if it's just me, but what she does next like really shows how excited she is to have clothes to wear. Because as soon as she sees her closet, she then hulks out, destroying that one and only suit that she's been trying to preserve this whole time. But now she's like, man, bump that. I got options. But really it's here for Jennifer as she gets settled in, and she starts reflecting, and for a moment she thinks about what Titania said. As far as Jennifer having all these opportunities to reinvent herself, and she thinks to herself that she wants to take up more space in her own life, which really also falls in line not only with her taking time off from the Avengers, but also with the development that we'd seen Jennifer have throughout the course of Jennifer Must Die, which at the time was moving her away from her trauma after being killed by Thanos and seemingly getting her back to the fun side. But then not too long after this relaxing moment, she then hears a crash in the apartment, and when she goes to see who or what it is, and come to find out it's Jack of Hearts, who has a rather interesting history with Jennifer Walters, with his zero energy at one point reverting Jennifer from She-Hulk back to her human form, and even at one point him being able to balance her gamma levels. So I'm curious to see how he's gonna play in down the line. But with him showing up here, he's supposed to be dead, and I mean like dead twice over. And I want to say that I talked about the more recent one during Children's Crusade, but that's something we can definitely get back into, depending on how this video does and if you guys want to talk more She-Hulk, because so far I've read 5 issues in and it's not action packed, but it's good. So let me know if you guys want to keep it going. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support, and for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.